Hello everyone. So a while back I got a new phone and realized you could set a little video as the lock screen. I must have had D&D on the brain because I thought it would be neat to have a little rolling D20 show up when I woke the phone up. And I think it turned out pretty well. So as I'm starting out this channel, I was thinking about what I could do for the intro, and I thought doing that same sort of thing would be interesting. And I thought it would be neat to share in case anyone was interested. So here we have a default scene. Let's go ahead and delete these objects. And I like to make sure we can see a little bit better. So I turn on this cavity and set it to world. It just helps with the seeing the little cavities we have when we're modeling. Okay, so we're going to add mesh icosphere. And what we want to do is set the subdivision to 1. Everything else is fine. And hit F2 to rename this to die. Okay. Now hit tab to go to edit mode. Now select all with A if it's not already selected. And Control B to bevel. I'm just going to add a couple subdivisions here using the mouse wheel. Let's go here. Now this is a matter of preference on how big you want this bevel to be, but I'm referring to a die that I have on hand, and it's pretty small. So let's do 0.03. Obviously I'm not, you don't have a 2-meter tall die. I'm just kind of using the default size it gave us. Now, I'm not going to use subdivision surface on this. I want to keep it a little bit simple. So what I'm going to do is make this a little, zoom in here. And we want to make sure the profile looks good. So the shape, if we hold shift while we drag this, it will drag a little bit slower. I mean, the shape looks good. It is the number of the devil, but that's fine. I think 9 is good for segments, and then shape is .666 or whatever you think. See how that looks. Looks okay. Okay, what we want to do now is go to face select mode, select one of these triangles, and shift G to select similar polygon sides. Then we want to inset these a little bit, like so. The reason we want to do this is we want to create a buffer between the rounded edges here and the flat sides, so the shading knows what to do. There's other ways to do this, but this is a pretty simple way, and it's effective for what we're doing here. So I don't know if we're going to use this, but we'll go ahead and create a vertex group just so we don't have to go through this whole thing if we want to select these faces again. So I'm just going to say that faces, assign, and just deselect and select to make sure. Okay. This is our basic shape. Now, we want to get the numbers, right? So we want to add a text item. And you can choose whatever font you want to use. I'm actually going to, you can change it here for regular, because that's just when you're typing out, that's what it puts. I have a font, Sego Bold, Sego UI Bold. You'll see here. Okay, let's move this over a little bit. So hit grab, for G for grab, and then X, move it over. And we're going to change the text here. And we're just going to do it all in one. So I'm just going to type all the numbers out here with spaces in between. So make sure your text is selected. Hit tab. And just type the numbers. So 1 space 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 20-sided die. 7, 8. Okay. I'm actually going to F2, rename this, just keep it clean. Probably won't matter later. Okay. Also, we have to make sure that we underline the 6 and the 9. Because those are underlined on my die. Makes sense. Okay, now depending on how big your sides are, this might have to be tuned down a little bit. I think the biggest number here is like 20. So you can kind of estimate how big it needs to be. Let's go 0.8. Actually, we can adjust this later if we need to. Let's do 0.85. Okay, so in object mode, we want to right click, convert to mesh. And what that does is it takes all our numbers and turns them into mesh, obviously. So here we have triangles. Now, this is dirty, and what I have found the quickest way to clean this up is we're going to select all, hit X, and do limited dissolve. What this essentially does is it cleans up what it can of the topology here, leaving n-gons unless it has like a hole, and then it'll add some edges here. But it's mostly just n-gons, and those are a lot easier for us to deal with when we're doing this. Okay, now go into edit mode if you're not already. Choose everything. E to extrude, and just pull it down a bit. Now, I think we want to do -0.1. Let's do that. Okay, now this part's a bit tedious, but we want to select each of these. So select a face. You can use Control L to select everything linked to it, and hit P to separate by selection. And you're going to want to do that for all of these numbers. For these that are different islands, you can just select a face on each, hit Control L. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but it's not that many, so. Okay, so if you go to object mode, you have all our numbers here. What I'm actually going to do is, so it does look like it kept the numbers right, so that's good. We don't have to rename them really. And this is empty, so we can get rid of that. Now I'm going to move these with M to a new collection. Just call it numbers. Okay. Okay, with all your numbers selected here, we also want to change we don't want them all having this origin point. So with them all selected, to set origin to geometry, then you'll see the origin point has been changed for each of these. Okay, now we just want to place these, right? And I'm going to be using the die I have on hand as a reference for the placement and orientation of these numbers. So first off, we're just going to throw them on there, and then we can worry about sizing them and rotating them later. So turn on snap, snap base center, snap target face, and align rotation. So I'm going to start with 20 here. And since it's snapping, you just want to grab it, and it's going to snap. So just throw it where it goes. So referencing my die, we'll see there's a 2 here, 14 here, and an 8 here, and they're all kind of using 20 as the bottom. So we'll do that. When you rotate these, you can change your transform orientation here to local. You can also hold the comma, change it to local. And what you want to do is hit R and then Z or Z. Rotate them around. Doesn't have to be super accurate right now. Okay, then just place the rest of them. All right, now we want to make sure these are all within these borders here. So I think we're going to have to I think we might be able to fit. Just do a little tweaking. Okay, in case you need to scale these a bit, let's just scale them slightly smaller. Let's undo this snap. Actually, we'll keep that. We will set the pivot point on individual origins. Then go here, select all the numbers, and just scale them a little bit. And let's just apply that so we don't have any issues later. So the reason I put the origins in the middle here, we kind of want it sticking out and in, because we're going to do a Boolean here, and if the vertices aren't near each other or near the other edges, it makes it much smoother. So at this point, once you're sure everything's going to fit, just go in and tweak the numbers like you want. Make sure everything looks good. A tip on that, you can actually, if you want to look at this head on, it's a little hard when you're orbiting like this. You can hit Shift and then 7 on the number pad, and it would go to the face, the top view of that face. So makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, just tweak these as you want. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, that looks good. Also, another tip here, I named the file name with 2 zeros and a 1, and so if you're gonna make any sort of like major change, or it's a huge step in the process, you can just do save incremental and it'll add a number there. Okay, so I'm actually going to replace this 20 with my logo, which is an SVG, and I'll show you how to do that if you want. So what I'm going to do is delete this. Not going to add. Go to import SVG. Find it. And move it. And there we go. So, yep, SVG. So we just want to convert this to a mesh. And it's pretty dirty, but we're going to do the same thing here. Do limited dissolve, select everything, do limited dissolve. And it cleans it up real nice. I mean, still not super nice, but you know. Okay. So now we want to scale this about the size we want. So doesn't have to be exact. And go into edit mode. Select all. I'm going to extrude. And same thing here. -0.1. And then we can set the origin to geometry. Okay, so just gonna do this. And rotate a bit, scale it a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. Let's make sure it's in the lines. Yep. Okay. Let's select this, hit F2 to rename it. And hit M. We're going to move it into the numbers. I know it's not a number. We can delete that collection that we're not using anymore. We want to select all of our, let me make sure, unselect everything, select all these, and we want to join them together. So Control J. And then, now these are all one object. Then we go to the die, and we want to add a Boolean. And then the object will be the numbers. And we want to use fast solver. Then we can just hide these numbers and see. So check it out. Make sure everything looks good. Looks pretty good. No weird shading issues or anything. So I'm actually going to disable that collection. And we're going to go ahead and apply this Boolean. Okay. So we have our Boolean now in object mode. We can shade auto smooth. And depending on your font, you might want to check this because there could be like shallow angles here that you want to have it separated, but everything looks, I think everything looks good here. If some of the angles are weird, you can change this value here. This looks good for me, so I'm going to keep that. Now let's go into edit mode, face select, and let's select a face from each number. And then what we want to do here is Shift G, select similar coplanar, and that will make sure all of our numbers are selected, the inside of our numbers. And then we are going to make a vertex group. We're going to call it numbers and assign. Just make sure everything looks good. Okay. I like how this is looking. Okay, let's move it up a bit on the z-axis. And we will add a plane. And I'm just going to do 50 meters. And that's pretty much it for the modeling currently. Next we'll work on materials.